Hello, friend of karmic affinity. Imagine a state of consciousness where absolutely nothing can shake your deep inner peace. No matter how harsh the criticism or how chaotic the world outside becomes, your mind remains as still as a rippleless lake. The Buddha taught that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. Today, I invite you to explore 10 golden rules from ancient wisdom to build a solid inner strength and remain unchanging amidst a constantly changing world. By the end of this journey, you will understand exactly what you need to do to maintain stillness, even when life deliberately provokes you with the most ironic adversities. Rule 1. Establish a steadfast purpose amidst the storm. To begin the journey of building an unchanging interior, we need to lay the first foundation stones for consistency, identifying a clear and steadfast life purpose. Imagine your mind as a ship drifting in the vast ocean on a stormy night. If that ship lacks a guiding map and a defined destination, every fierce wave or strange gust of wind can easily push it astray and lead to total loss. But when you have seen the radiant North Star of your life, you will have enough courage to hold the helm steady and pass through the murkiest fogs. In the wisdom of the Buddha, this steadfast purpose is deeply connected to right thought, meaning keeping your mind aligned with wholesome intentions and mindfulness in every daily action. These are not goals of fleeting wealth or fame, but the aspiration to live a life full of compassion, understanding, and a calm spirit before all fluctuations. The Buddha once taught that just as an elephant in battle endures arrows from all directions, a person with a clearly oriented mind will overcome all slanders and adversities without flinching. It is the understanding of what truly matters that becomes a shield protecting you from the invasion of external noise. To practice this, I invite you to build a habit of stillness every morning when the dawn first touches the earth. Instead of rushing into the worries of making a living, spend a few minutes silently reminding yourself of your core values and the true purpose of today. Ask yourself, do I choose to face the world with anger or with tolerance? Do I choose to be swept away by the current of life, or do I choose to master my breath in my own stillness? When you start your day by anchoring your mind to a steadfast purpose, you are directly creating a durable inner strength and an extraordinary resilience. This helps you always find the way back to yourself, even when the world around is falling into ultimate chaos. Remember that a solid foundation is not built by extraordinary efforts in an instant, but is nurtured from the silent consistency in your every thought and every breath each day. Rule 2. Become unchanging and master your own reactions. Step with me onto the second rung, where you will discover a great secret to protecting your soul: the power to remain unchanging before all external attacks. Tell yourself the profound truth: no one and nothing can hurt you if you do not grant them that sacred permission from within your consciousness. We often mistake suffering as being caused by the actions of others. But suffering actually only begins at the exact moment you choose to react with anger or hurt. Imagine someone intentionally throwing a stone at you named slander or disrespect. If you rush to reach out and catch it, holding it in your heart, you are the one who suffers. But if you choose to stand still like an empty space, that stone will simply fall to the ground without leaving a trace on your soul. The Buddha reminded us of a very deep truth: you will not be punished for your anger, but your anger will punish you immediately. In the wisdom of healing, this is the state of non-attachment to the 8 worldly winds, the winds of praise and blame, honor and disgrace, gain and loss, pleasure and pain. When someone intentionally provokes or insults you, I invite you to perform a small practice called the wisdom pause. Instead of reacting instinctively, take exactly 3 seconds to breathe deeply and tell yourself, "This stillness is mine, and I do not allow anyone to take it away." Choosing to be calm, absolutely does not mean you are escaping or yielding to wrongful behavior. In fact, you are keeping your mind clear enough to take the most correct and solid actions without being swept away by the emotional storm. You are the supreme gatekeeper of the temple of your soul, and you always have the right to choose not to receive toxic gifts from others. When you understand that true freedom lies in the reaction of the interior, the world outside, no matter how chaotic, no longer has the power to shake the lamp of peace shining radiantly inside your soul. Rule 3. Transform insults into mental exercises. Entering daily social life, we will inevitably face insults or disrespectful behavior from others. This is an unavoidable reality in this world. But instead of letting those sounds pierce deep into your heart and turn them into obsessions of the ego, I invite you to completely change your perspective through a fresh wisdom. View each insult as a valuable exercise for you to train your patience and self-control. The deep reality is that an insult always reflects the inner instability and suffering of the speaker, more than it reflects the true value of the receiver. The Buddha taught that hatred is never ended by hatred, but only by love. That is an eternal law. When you receive a bitter word and respond with similar anger, it means you are unintentionally fueling the fire of suffering to burn more fiercely inside yourself. However, I want you to understand clearly that keeping a calm mind absolutely does not mean you accept becoming a victim of abuse or allow others to violate your dignity unreasonably. Peace is the solidity that helps you establish healthy protective boundaries with a calm and upright attitude without losing the sacred stillness of the soul. Whenever facing a sudden attack, I invite you to stop for a beat, breathe deeply, and choose to respond with wise silence or a mindful reaction instead of being swept away by negative emotions. When you stop identifying your ego with the fluctuating praise and blame of the world, you will find yourself immensely powerful because nothing can muddy the flat lake of your consciousness anymore. Persistence in this training will help you realize that every insult is actually just a thin smoke that will automatically vanish as soon as it hits the solid mountain of mindfulness within you. Rule 4. Maintain the interior against social rumors. Listen to the sound of rumors behind your back. They often have a destructive power that makes your heart tighten immediately, sparking a desire to stand up to explain or resist fiercely. The feeling of being misunderstood or having one's honor slandered is always one of the hardest pains for the human ego to accept, for it is a natural defensive reaction when you feel justice and self-respect are violated by untruths. However, I invite you to try looking deeper into the shadow of those words to recognize another wisdom. Imagine a colleague intentionally weaving false stories about your irresponsibility just to cover up their own insecurity and deficiencies. In fact, every slander is a silent cry for help from a soul under pressure and full of envy. They attack you because they feel they are not good enough, and belittling others is the only way their tired ego feels temporarily comforted and slightly more valuable. When you truly understand this with compassion, you will see those rumors suddenly become very small and more pitiable than anger-inducing. The Buddha reminded us of a profound truth. If a person speaks or acts with an impure mind, suffering surely follows them, like a wheel follows the hoof of an ox. You absolutely do not need to waste a single bit of precious energy to fix or bend what others weave about you, because actual action always has a sound louder and more persistent than any polished explanation. Integrity in lifestyle and the good values you silently contribute over time will be the most eloquent answer that makes all rumors automatically vanish into thin air, like mist meeting the morning sun. I invite you to practice nurturing compassion by silently praying for those who have slandered you to soon find inner peace and escape the chains of judgment. Keep your mind always upright and pure, like a clear mirror. not letting the dust of the world muddy the inherent good nature within. To summarize, so that your mind is not affected by rumors, choose wise silence. Focus absolutely on creating self-value, and trust in the rhythm of truth. A majestic mountain will never be shaken or crumbled just by a few gusts of dust passing over its dry cliffs. Your dignity lies in how you live, not in what the world says about you in their moments of delusion. Rule 5. Guard the soul like tending a sacred garden. Imagine your soul as an extremely fertile piece of land, and every thought you give rise to during the day is actually a seed being sown. If you sow seeds of compassion and understanding, that garden will naturally bloom with fragrant flowers of happiness. But if you accidentally let seeds of envy, anxiety, or judgment fall onto that land, then surely the thorns of suffering will cover your soul. There is a profound truth the Buddha always reminded us of. The mind leads all things. The mind is the great architect weaving the entire world you perceive. When the garden of your mind is full of weeds of negative thoughts, even if you live in a golden palace, the world around will always appear murky and full of unnamed insecurities. Guarding the soul does not mean you must run away or deny the existence of negative thoughts, as they are an inevitable part of human life. The important thing here is that you do not allow them to master your inner home. A wise gardener never panics when seeing weeds grow. They simply identify them and patiently pull out those toxic sprouts as soon as they emerge. Every time you let a thought of resentment or fear root deep into your subconscious, you are manually destroying your own peace. Therefore, I invite you to train yourself in the habit of a mindful guardian, always closely observing every entrance of the soul to know clearly what is allowed to be present. To help you master this garden more easily, I invite you to perform a small 10-second practice called naming the truth. Right at this moment, if there are any loops of thought in your head making you tired, simply smile gently and say to yourself, "Ah, this is just thinking." Labeling those thoughts with mindfulness is how you create a sacred space so as not to be swept away in the whirlpool of interpretation. You begin to see thoughts as temporary phenomena that come and go, not as your true essence. This detached awareness is the most powerful healing medicine that helps all disturbances in your head begin to settle, like dust falling to the bottom of a still lake. Engrave this sacred wisdom into the depths of your heart to protect your own serenity. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. When you persistently tend the garden of the mind with mindfulness every day, you will miraculously find yourself becoming unchanging before all the storms of the world out there. You do not need to change the whole world to have peace. You only need to change the seeds inside your own soul. Always be fully present and carefully select what you want to nurture. For a radiant garden of consciousness is the solid foundation that helps you walk steadily amidst this volatile world. Rule 6. Overcome fear and shame to unlock inner power. Observe the silent barriers separating you from the most complete freedom. Is it true that sometimes you feel your soul covered by a fog of fear and the shadows of shame? These are the two most subtle types of inner chains that make a person weak and vulnerable to life's fluctuations. Fear is inherently a ghost of things not yet arrived, while shame is a harsh sentence you pronounce upon yourself from the fragments of the past. When these two emotions occupy the mind, they paralyze all creative capacity and make you miss countless good opportunities just because of the complex that you are not good enough or do not deserve to be loved. Imagine a very common situation, like standing before a crowd to present an idea, or simply when you want to express your sincerity to someone you love. In that moment, your heart beats wildly, your hands tremble, and an inner voice begins to whisper, What if I fail? What if they mock me? It is the fear of judgment and the shame of your own flaws that build a giant stone wall preventing you from stepping forward. You choose silence and withdrawal, only to later sink into regret and constant remorse. In the deep wisdom of the Buddha, all negative emotions are mental structures woven from the absence of the light of mindfulness. He taught us the lesson of looking directly at the root of fear instead of running away from it, because what you run away from will have more power to chase and control your life. You need to clearly recognize that fear and shame are actually just stories that the mind invents based on old experiences and social pressures. They are not your true essence. To untie these strings of attachment, I invite you to practice detached observation with the deepest self-compassion. Whenever the wave of fear strikes, making your chest tighten, stand in the position of a tolerant witness and observe that feeling as you would observe a weather phenomenon passing through your inner house. Do not try to chase the fear away, and do not hate the shame. Treat yourself as gently as you would comfort a close friend in distress. Tell yourself, these are just feelings arising, and I allow them to be present without letting them define my value. The Buddha reminded us of a sacred truth. The person who lives with clear wisdom has absolutely nothing left to fear, for they have understood the nature of impermanence in all things and the emptiness of all suffering in this world. Overcoming fear does not mean you become a person without emotions or become blindly reckless. Rather, it is the capacity to rise above the oscillations of the consciousness, to dwell in the solidity of the present. When you know how to love even the weak and broken parts inside you, you'll see the armor of harsh defense automatically melt away, giving way to a radiant source of inner power to rise most strongly. Patiently nourish self-compassion every day to turn fears into material for courage and turn shame into the flower of humility. This silent transformation will help you become unchanging before all judgments and help your soul always be free and vast amidst this volatile world. You do not need to be a flawless person. You only need to be a soul daring enough to see through the illusions of emotion, to recognize the radiant light of the whole self that is always there, waiting for you to awaken. Rule 7. View every person as a patient teacher. Observe the bustling stream of people passing through your life every day, from your closest loved ones to the strangers you accidentally encounter on the street. It seems we have a habit of dividing the world into two distinct halves, one half consisting of those who bring us satisfaction, and the other consisting of those who cause us annoyance or suffering. We welcome the kind with a smile and repel the unpleasant with resentment. But dear friend, in the ultimate wisdom of the Buddha, the nature of karmic connections is far more miraculous than that. Every person who appears in your life, whether they treat you with tenderness or harshness, is actually a teacher, silently bringing you an invaluable spiritual lesson that you need for growth. Instead of asking why they treat you this way, I invite you to make a grand shift in consciousness by asking yourself, what is this teacher trying to teach me through this situation? This wise reframing will turn every encounter into an opportunity to sharpen your inner strength and become unchanging before the world's turbulence. Let us open the first page of this teacher's book, the lesson of patience and self-control. Usually, those who annoy you the most are the strictest teachers, helping you clearly identify the hidden corners within yourself. When someone criticizes you or acts provocatively, igniting the fire of anger within, instead of rushing into a useless argument, take a step back to observe the reactions rising in your consciousness. Ask yourself, why this person's words have the power to hurt you so much, or why you are agitated by their actions. The reality is that what others do is merely an external catalyst, while the inner discomfort is a mirror reflecting what you have not yet truly let go of or healed. That unpleasant teacher is showing you exactly where your ego is most sensitive and where your self is most attached, so that you may know the path to cultivate and return to the refuge of your own stillness. Now, as the mind begins to settle after these collisions, I invite you to turn to the second page of this journey to discover the power of compassion amidst adversity. To deeply understand those who cause us weariness, we must learn to look through the outer shell of aggression or selfishness to see a soul enduring much trauma and insecurity. You must understand that an absolutely happy and peaceful person will never have the need to harm or insult others. Every bitter word or rude action is actually a cry for help from a heart being scorched by the fire of suffering and deep-seated complexes. When you view them as a patient struggling with their own pain rather than as an enemy, compassion within you will automatically sprout, and all resentment will vanish like snow meeting the morning sun. Choosing to tolerate the delusions of others is not a concession. It is liberating yourself from the chains of hatred, keeping your soul light and spacious before the world's fluctuations. The journey of the awakened student continues to the third page, where the lesson of humility and the interconnectedness of all things is most clearly revealed. Understand profoundly that everyone you meet, whether a child or a simple laborer, possesses a fragment of wisdom that you might not yet know. Life is a vast school where no one is perfect and no one is entirely useless. Humility helps you keep the teacup of your soul empty to receive new flavors of understanding, helping you realize that we always rely on each other to exist, like threads woven into the tapestry of the vast universe. When you stop being complacent about what you know and start listening to the world with the curiosity of a child, you will see that every existence around you is silently teaching you about impermanence and the beauty of presence, helping you build a solid inner strength based on absolute harmony with the pulse of life. However, lest this wisdom become blind endurance, I want to give you a very important message regarding the boundaries of stillness and genuine self-respect. Remaining calm before an unpleasant person does not mean allowing yourself to become a dumping ground for others' emotional trash or accepting toxic, prolonged abuse. Sometimes the most valuable lesson that teacher gives you is how to establish healthy boundaries and how to say no mindfully. True peace lies in knowing when to stay, to transform, and when to gently walk away, to protect the lamp of your consciousness. The act of establishing boundaries with a calm, non-resentful attitude is the highest expression of integrity and self-compassion for both yourself and others. When you know how to protect your stillness with wisdom, you will no longer be a victim of anyone, nor will you let anything shake the foundation of serenity you have worked so hard to build. Engrave this final sacred teaching to close this great lesson. The most important thing when leaving this world is not how much fame you achieved, but how deeply you loved and how gently you let go. Life is a continuous flow of lessons, and every person who appears is a necessary karmic link for you to complete the picture of your soul. When you choose to live as a lifelong student, always willing to listen and empathize, the world's storms will only increase the strength and brilliance of the lighthouse of peace within you. Patiently nurture the view that everyone is a teacher in every present moment so that you truly become unchanging amidst a changing world, and so your soul may always be free and serene under the protection of wisdom and unconditional love. Rule 8. Build a moral value system as solid as a spiritual compass. Now, I invite you to look deeply into the spiritual backbone that silently shapes your courage and stability every day. The cultivation of an unshakable moral value system. We often mistake freedom for the ability to do whatever we want without being bound by any rules. But the profound reality is that a person living without moral discipline is like a boat without a rudder in a vast ocean. Every wind of desire or storm of temptation can easily pull you into dangerous waters and shatter the inner peace you have painstakingly built. In the Buddha's sacred wisdom, this value system is manifested through the 5 precepts, also known as the 5 principles for protecting life. These are not harsh laws used to punish or restrict humans. Rather, they are a living compass, helping you stay on the right path amidst a world full of sophisticated traps. Let us browse these 5 guiding lights to see their protective power over your consciousness. The first precept is to respect and protect life, where you nurture compassion and refuse all actions that harm living beings. The second is to be honest with property, where you commit not to take what does not belong to you and learn to be content with what you have. The third is to cherish loyalty and emotional relationships so that the soul is not disturbed by blind lust. The fourth is to maintain upright speech, where you speak truthful and kind words instead of using language to deceive or cause division. And the final precept is to keep the mind always sober and clear by staying away from addictive substances that cloud one's wisdom. When you choose to live by these principles, you are silently building a sacred protective boundary for your nervous system, helping you always make the wisest decisions and maintain a mindset of holding your head high without shame. Imagine a real situation at your workplace when an opportunity for a sudden large profit appears, but it requires you to take a few shady shortcuts or remain silent before a dishonest act for personal gain. At that very moment, the moral compass will speak up to remind you that the peace of the soul is worth 1,000 times more than those fleeting physical benefits. If you choose the path of integrity, despite the pressure of colleagues or the temptation of money, miraculously, you will find your chest becoming vast and your breath becoming incredibly light. This consistency between thought and action is the most precious material weaving an unchanging inner strength, helping you stand firm before all the world's winds, because you understand you are relying on a solid foundation of truth rather than the fleeting illusions of fame and profit. Visualize morality as the root system of a majestic great tree, clinging deep into the tolerant Mother Earth. The higher the tree and the wider the canopy, the deeper and wider those roots must spread to support the entire trunk against violent hurricanes. A person with solid morality is exactly the same. When you live with absolute integrity, you are creating a magnetic field of trust and peace, not only for yourself, but also for those around you. I invite you to reflect on your interior every day in the gentlest way. You do not need to force yourself to become flawless immediately, because the path of cultivation is a persistent progress through small steps. What matters is that you always keep the intention to live wholesomely and dare to admit your mistakes to amend them. The presence of a community of noble friends or wise teachers will also be an invaluable source of supportive energy, helping you keep the lamp of morality burning amidst the dark night. When you live truthfully with yourself, you will find yourself becoming untouchable. Not because you possess supernatural power, but because you are completely free from the control of fear and greed, which are the greatest enemies of peace. Engrave this profound truth into the deepest layers of your awareness. The true dignity of a human being is not valued by what they possess, but is evidenced by how they choose to act when facing life's harshest challenges. When you build a resilient moral backbone for yourself, no matter how the world turns upside down, it will only increase the radiance and stability of the lighthouse of peace within your soul. Rule 9. Follow the natural flow to find ultimate harmony. Try looking out the window and slowly observing the silent rhythm of the earth and sky, where each passing season carries its own distinct and sacred message of life. Autumn leaves fall to prepare for a new rebirth. The cold of winter is when all things withdraw to accumulate energy. And the sprouting of spring is the inevitable result of a patient process of waiting in the darkness. In the Buddha's wisdom, humans are actually an inseparable part of this great ecosystem, and our greatest tragedy is trying to detach ourselves from the natural flow to live according to the forced pressures and deadlines of the rational mind. When you live against the rhythm of the earth, you are creating a giant resistance that erodes your own vitality. Genuine unchangeability arises at the exact moment you understand the law of impermanence and learn how to flow with the current instead of rowing against the waters of karma. Imagine a sturdy ancient tree in a vast field. When a storm comes with violent winds, the tree never stiffens itself to resist rigidly. Instead, it knows how to flexibly bend with the wind to protect its young branches. It is that softness and following of nature that has helped it stand firm through hundreds of storm seasons without breaking or fading. Your life is exactly the same. Peace does not come from your ability to prevent fluctuations from occurring. It comes from your capacity to dare to accept that everything in this world is constantly changing and flowing. Bravely accepting impermanence is how you remove all the armor of resistance, helping your soul become light and in absolute harmony with the heartbeat of the vast universe. Living naturally also means knowing how to respect the sacred limits of your own physical form, knowing when to strive and when you truly need to rest to recover your life energy. Buddhism teaches us the middle way, not overindulging oneself, but also absolutely not abusing oneself with goals that exceed the endurance of the nervous system. When you know how to live simply and nurture contentment, you are directly reducing the noise of sharp desire, helping the temple of the body and mind remain clean and pure. That stillness is the most fertile environment for wisdom to sprout, and for you to feel compassion for all living beings and the environment around you. The Buddha once reminded us that just as a snake sheds its old skin to be reborn more radiantly, you also need to learn how to let go of what is expired in your soul to receive the fresh life force of the earth every day. Spending time to be truly present outdoors, touching plants, and feeling the warmth of the sun is how you perform a pilgrimage back to the source to recharge your consciousness. Right now, I invite you to take exactly 30 seconds for a small practice of communion. Slowly look up at the vast sky or at the nearest green canopy. Listen to the wind whispering through the door and feel the cool air entering your chest. With just 10 mindful breaths in a natural space like this, you will realize a great comforting message from the universe. You are always embraced and supported unconditionally. In the world of nature, there is no judgment and no pressure to be perfect. Things simply exist and transform rhythmically according to the law of cause and effect. Engrave this profound truth. True peace lies not in how many things you can control, but in how much you can harmonize with the miraculous flow of life. When you live in accordance with nature, no matter how the world turns upside down, it cannot reach the eternal peace shining radiantly inside your soul. Rule 10. Turn gratitude into the ultimate weapon to protect happiness. We have walked together through 9 rungs of wisdom, and now I invite you to take the final key. The key with the most radiant transformative power to seal your entire peace against the world's storms. The rule of deep gratitude. Understand the profound truth that gratitude is not merely a social thank you or a polite ritual. It is actually a high-frequency energy capable of completely changing your internal biological environment and restructuring your entire subconscious layer. In the wisdom of healing, gratitude is a grand shift from a consciousness of scarcity to a consciousness of abundance. Those who live in ungratefulness often view life through a murky lens of lack. They always feel they lack money, lack love, or lack luck. This scarcity mindset creates a silent pull that drags in endless anxiety and chronic nervous tension. Conversely, those who nurture gratitude are those who always see the wealth present in every minute, even when they do not possess much material wealth, because they recognize that simply being able to breathe, to see the sunlight, and to exist in this life is an unparalleled grace granted to them by the universe. I invite you to view gratitude as an invisible but solid shield of light that protects your soul from the toxic arrows of negativity and the provocations of the world. When you fill your heart with appreciation, the darkness of complaining and resentment will automatically have no place to hide. Imagine you are facing a high-pressure work environment where bosses are harsh and colleagues frequently make things difficult for you. Instead of spending all your energy ruminating on frustration and letting anger erode your mind, try using the weapon of gratitude to illuminate this situation with a fresh perspective. Be grateful, because this job is silently training you in wonderful patience. Be grateful because every challenge is an opportunity to see your own imperfections. And be grateful because these very difficulties are pushing you to find mindfulness to protect your own peace. This reframing will make those you once considered rivals suddenly become strict teachers helping you grow, turning weary burdens into fertile material for the flower of wisdom to sprout most radiantly. Many of us have also noticed that gratitude has a miraculous power to heal fractured relationships. Instead of focusing on the flaws or dissatisfactions regarding a spouse or children, try directing the light of attention to the smallest things they have done for you. A warm meal, a caring question when you are tired, or simply their presence by your side through the past years of ups and downs. When that energy of appreciation radiates from your soul, the person opposite will also feel the gentle tolerance, and from there, all resistance or conflict will automatically vanish like mist meeting the morning sun. The practice of many awakened souls has shown that gratitude is closely linked to the quality of sleep and the stability of the entire central nervous system. When you live in gratitude, your heart beats a gentler rhythm. The brain stops producing the toxins of anxiety and instead spreads happiness hormones that soothe all physical aches and bring your body into the deepest state of recovery. This is the wonderful intersection between mindfulness and gratitude, where you are not merely an observer of reality, but also one who embraces reality with all the most sacred respect and trust. Gratitude helps you realize that every event in life, whether favorable or unfavorable, carries a hidden message to lead you toward wholeness. To make this rule a part of your being, I invite you to perform 3 small but powerful daily practices to sow the seeds of happiness deep into the subconscious. First, build a habit of a gratitude journal. Each night, before closing your eyes for deep sleep, write down or silently name the 3 simplest things that made you feel grateful. Today, it could be a stranger's smile, a wild flower by the road, or the fact that you still have enough free breath to listen to these words. Second, learn to express gratitude using the most direct and sincere words. Do not keep appreciation silent in your heart, but courageously say thank you to those who have helped you, even for the smallest thing. The sound of gratitude will cleanse the souls of both the speaker and the listener and create a wholesome field around your life. The third technique, the most important one for a practitioner, is to be grateful even in the harshest adversities. Every time an undesirable event strikes, disturbing the mind, stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what is the most valuable lesson I can receive and be grateful for here? Consistently practicing gratitude every day is how you create a beautiful ripple effect spreading through your entire life. It not only helps you become happier, but also turns you into an unchanging and untouchable entity before the world's attacks or judgments. The Buddha reminded us that gratitude is the hallmark of saints and those with noble souls. When you possess this weapon, you will realize the world is not as scary or dry as you often worry. On the contrary, it is full of miracles and silent support waiting for you to discover through every mindful breath. Engrave this final wisdom as solid baggage for your every step in this murky world. Anxiety may visit the house of your soul as a guest from afar, but gratitude will always be the wise host that ensures no affliction or darkness can ever linger or overstay. When you choose to live in full appreciation for this physical form and for all the karmic links around you, you will see all obstacles suddenly become paths to awakening, and all suffering can transform into pure lotus flowers, radiating the fragrance of peace amidst a changing life. Gratitude is the ultimate healing medicine that helps you find your inherent radiant nature and live a life of vast freedom that nothing can shake anymore. Our journey through the 10 lands of wisdom is now gently closing to make way for the actual realization of your own soul. From establishing a steadfast life purpose to turning gratitude into the most radiant protective shield, these 10 keys now lie entirely in your palm to protect eternal peace. I believe absolutely that as long as you persistently practice bit by bit every day, an unchanging interior, an invulnerable strength will automatically sprout and shine within you, helping you stand firm before all the world's storms. If these shares have brought you stability, please sow more good seeds by subscribing, hitting the like button, and spreading this light to those around you. Among the 10 golden rules we have just passed through, which key do you feel you need the most right now? Please share with me in the comments so we can resonate with the energy of awakening. Wishing you constant peace, goodbye, and see you again.